SUVs. They were once the chosen wheels for those who wanted something a little individual, something different. They gave the driver an exalted driving position and made their owners feel special. But no more. SUVs are parked outside every kebab shop these days and are driven by everyone. So, if you want to feel special these days and lord it over other SUV drivers, you have to go big. And I mean really big. Like this one. It's called the X7 and BMW are calling it the 7 Series of the SUV world. It's the largest SUV BMW has made. In fact, it's the largest car BMW has ever made. But will it make its owners feel special, or is it too tasteless for its own good? Well, before I answer that question, make sure you subscribe to the channel and press the little bell icon so you're notified exactly when one of our videos goes live. The X7 then. BMW is calling it the 7 Series limousine of the SUV world. But what you really need to know is that with prices ranging from £72,000 to £87,000, it rivals a Range Rover in terms of size and a Land Rover Discovery in terms of interior space. Styling. Now for once I'm going to shut up and let you leave your comments in the section below. One thing I will say, however, is the grille. You can't miss it, can you? Especially when the smallest Carbuyer suitcase is smaller than the X7's grille. So don't go taking an X7 grille on a plane with you because you will not be able to, because it will contravene hand luggage rules. The 7 Series feeling continues in here because just like that limousine, everything in here is exquisite. From the quality of the leather, which is standard on every single model, to the plastics, to the wood trim, to the metal trim. It all feels extremely well made. There's a great amount of storage for a family SUV as well. Great sized door bins. There's a big cubby there. There's another one just there as well, with 2 cup holders and a wireless charging pad on this particular car. And the glove box is pretty big as well. But there's a but coming, isn't there? You can just sense it. Now, just like the 7 Series, you can option your X7 with lots of different interior packs. We've got the premium pack here, for example, which adds massaging seats, heated and cooled cup holders, and that costs you £2,500. You can have panoramic sunroof. Well, that comes as standard actually, but the one we've got here is illuminated at night, so it looks lovely and pretty. And you can have a glass gear lever as well, like we've got here, with a glass starter button and a glass infotainment wheel. That will cost you £595. It's not the price that I'm worried about, it's the sense that you have to option this car with lots of fancy bits, because otherwise this interior looks just like any other BMW. It looks just like the new BMW 3 Series. And that's not quite on, really, for a car of this size, prestige and price, is it? As this is the range-topping BMW SUV, no X7 is poorly equipped. Briefly, the standard X7 gets 21-inch wheels, air suspension, leather seats, electric front seats with memory for the driver's seat, adaptive LED headlights, an electric steering column, Wi-Fi. I could go on. There's an M Sport model like the car we have here, with sportier bodywork and interior trimmings, while the M50D version gets an M Sport differential and exhaust system. There's likely to be a petrol version of the M50D called the M50i, and an X7M high-performance model is even more likely. There are limo levels of legroom back here. I mean, look at this. Absolutely vast, isn't it? And even when I stretch out, I've still got lots of space, and there's plenty of headroom thanks to those boxy dimensions. You probably noticed little cushions on the headrests there, so you can just sit here and relax. All of these seats, as you'd expect, are electric, and they recline and they slide forwards and they do some sort of merry dance should you wish. There's lots of cubbies back here, great sized door bins. We've got our own climate control back here, as you'd expect. There's an armrest with a little cubby there and 2 cup holders, which is all very nice. We've got climate control for each passenger. We've got heated seats as well. There are 2 USB charging ports. There are 2 other ones as well, one on the back of each seat, and that's so you can put a little cradle in there and put your tablet there if you wish. You can also fit 3 people as well. The person sitting in the middle, thanks to a flat floor, loads of leg room. This seat's not particularly comfortable, but there's lots of space for 3 people. There's also little covers over the ISOFIX points, so you'll never lose those. But of course, as it's a 7-seater, there's more seating back there. Just like the Land Rover Discovery, the X7 can fit adults back here, and you can't say that for a lot of 7-seat SUVs. Now that seat is in its furthest back position, and my knees are just brushing the backs of the seat. If you actually were sitting back here, you just ask that person in front to slide their seat forwards. If they did that, you'd have loads and loads of room. This seat isn't particularly uncomfortable either. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in here for hours on end, but for short to medium journeys, it's absolutely fine. Headroom is fine for me. If you are over 6 foot, you may struggle. I'm over 5'10", and headroom is not too bad for me at all. We've got the same little display control unit as we've got in the middle seats as well. So you've got your climate control, and both of these seats are heated, which is pretty extraordinary. There's a cup holder either side, and there's a USB-C charging port as well. And honestly, I think if you're passengers 6 and 7, you're not getting a raw deal.
Unsurprisingly, you won't be struggling for luggage space. Even when all 7 seats are up, there's a little more space than the Land Rover Discovery. Fold them down, which they do electrically, and the space is absolutely huge. Engines? Well, it's all pretty simple. For now, there's one petrol, a 3-litre turbocharged straight 6 with 335 bhp, and it's called the 40i, while for diesel, there's a 261 bhp 3-litre called the 30D. Not enough for you? Well, there's an M Performance model called the M50D that also uses a 3-litre straight 6 diesel, but it has 4 turbochargers and 395 bhp. There's likely to be an M50i too, and an even more powerful X7M. As for plug-in hybrids, well, nothing has been confirmed just yet.
We've got the 30D here, the 3-litre 6-cylinder diesel, and it's the engine that most people are going to be buying in the UK because it's an engine that really fits very well with an SUV. Now, this engine is magnificent in the BMW 5 Series, but in the X7, a car that weighs nearly 2.4 tonnes, you'd think it'd feel a bit strained. But remarkably, it isn't. If anything, it feels the perfect engine for this car. You just prod the throttle and it clears its throat, kicks down a couple of cogs, and away you go. It's remarkably quick and is all backed up with an 8-speed automatic gearbox, and it's just as good as these gearboxes always are in BMWs. It's very smooth, it kicks down gears just when you want it to, it changes up perfectly and precisely. The engine and the gearbox work perfectly together. Now, even with this car riding on absolutely massive wheels, the ride is pretty good. Now, as ever, there's an assortment of different driving modes: Sport, Comfort, Eco, Pro, and Adaptive, so it's like the auto setting. I'd just leave it in Comfort mode if I were you, because you've got air suspension all round as standard. Now, you can sharpen things up a little bit by putting it into Sport mode, but I mean, come on, this is a massive SUV, isn't it? Just leave it in Comfort mode, for heaven's sake, and just enjoy this very serene ride that it's got. Is it like a 7 Series SUV? It's pretty close, I have to say. BMW have done a good job in making this feel like a high-riding 7 Series. I hate to say it, but they've done a better job than Mercedes ever did with the old GLS, that's for sure. Now, you can go for the X-Drive off-road package if you so wish. You get different driving modes, you can raise the air suspension up and down. In actual fact, this car's pretty good, but I would guarantee that 99% of buyers will not be taking this car off-road. I mean, you don't want to get it dirty, do you? Now, every car gets digital dials, and it gets BMW's latest infotainment system, and as we've come to expect from BMW infotainment systems over the past 10 or so years, it is remarkably easy to use. It's very good indeed. You can swipe left, it's a touch screen, but if you don't want to touch it, you can still use the little control wheel down here. I love that. A lot of manufacturers are either going for one thing or the other at the moment, but here I like the dual zone setup. You can touch it and you can control it here. And more often than not, I use this rotary knob because I think that's safer, to be perfectly honest with you. But this car's got a third piece of tech that you can use to control that screen, and that's gesture control. Now, if you've watched many other Carbuyer reviews, you will know that I'm not a fan of it whatsoever. Now, it means you can waggle your finger mid-air, so you can do that to turn the volume up and that to turn it down. If you want to not accept a phone call, you just swipe it away. I particularly like that hand gesture, I have to say. And if you want to change tracks, you have to do that. And if you want to go back, you do that. And you have to say, you look a complete idiot. In actual fact, I was caught in a traffic jam in London yesterday, and I was doing that and that to play the song I wanted, and the guy next to me, the bus driver in actual fact, thought I was a complete lunatic. It's a piece of tacky technology that I'm sorry I cannot get on board with. Now, one thing I will say that's bad is rear visibility. Now, there's plenty of glass back there, but it seems so far back. When I look in my rearview mirror, it looks as though the back half of the car is in Buckinghamshire and we're currently in Surrey. They are so far away. Passengers 5 and 7 will probably have to shout to even be heard. And one thing you do have to make sure is if you're not carrying people in the back, you have to lower those rear headrests because otherwise you cannot see a bleeding thing. Now, for a car that weighs nearly 2.4 tonnes and is the size of Warwick Castle, this X7 actually drives remarkably well. The chassis is actually quite good. It's quite keen to turn into corners. It's actually quite surprising. Although push it too much, and it really doesn't like it, the traction control immediately kicks in because it thinks you're going to turn it over. Now, this car easily handles far better than a Range Rover or Mercedes GLS. Is that relevant for this type of car? No, it isn't, but it is nice to know that it can stay on the road and glued to the tarmac should you wish to get a bit of a lick on.
While you might want to hate the X7, it is a car that gets under your skin a little. It does all the things it should do very well, luxury, refinement and so on, but it surprises with how good it is to drive. The interior may be a little too familiar and other 7-seat SUVs may just be as practical, but the X7 does feel like a cut above most of its rivals. Don't go just yet, watch my Land Rover Discovery review and our SUVs playlist. Give this X7 review a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.